What's up, guys? It's Kevin Paulraj, and this is the Bridges of Belief podcast. I've got
Joshua, Coach Badu.
Poya.
And we've got a very, very special guest. And I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a second. But what's your name?
Matt Macdonald.
Yeah. Now, Matt is a masculinity and dating coach. Have I got that right?
That is, yeah, spot on.
Brilliant. And in regards to what that means, I feel like that's probably a conversation in itself. So I'll let it kind of uncover from there. But our podcast is about personal development, Christianity, exploring themes like dating, and I feel like it's an area that people are definitely struggling with right now, especially with all the technological advances. So right now, we're just going to rip into some of the questions and get to know Matt and take it from there. So, Matt, I'm going to start off with the first question. Matt, what got you into what you do now?
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a few years now, and what initially got me into it was during lockdown, it was during lockdown actually. I was trying to figure out a business idea. While I had a job I liked, I was itching to start my own thing, and I came up with this genius idea to sell T-shirts online, but apparently other people have already cottoned onto that. But then I just thought, screw it. Instead of trying to figure out the product, because I was obsessing about it, not getting anywhere, I eventually settled on, let's build an audience first and then figure out what to sell them later. Then I thought, okay, what sort of content can I write that people would want to read?
No way, that's how it started.
Yeah, and yeah, it was some mates have appreciated my dating advice in the past, so I thought I'll do some dating stuff and see what happens, and put a couple of posts on Reddit, and they blew up pretty quickly, and then started on Instagram, kept putting advice out, had no idea what I wanted to do with it, and then I had a bunch of requests for coaching. At first I was like, dating, I'd have no idea what I was doing. I don't even know if I'd like it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I eventually, after enough demand for it, took on a session with a client, and then by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I need to do this now. So, yeah. I don't know if I
genuinely found you.
I suppose so in that sense, yeah.
Wow. So, Poya, I'm going to let you take the questions away now, because we've all got a really good question to ask. Some things that are burning for us that we want to ask. So
before you go into the formal questions, you started off on Reddit as well.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Reddit to me is such a, not like the dark side of the internet, but like it feels like the audience you would find there is very different to the audience you'll find on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Is IG like where you mainly kind of release your content as well?
It is, and it's funny, like my first few posts on Reddit, actually the first few posts did terribly, and then I figured out you can't like go, here are 5 ways to improve your level, put 2 down, and then for the rest, come onto my website. I got like slammed to pieces for doing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But when I started sharing it all, then it started doing better. But some of the comments though, like I've been told to kill myself, you F word, and crazy stuff.
Oh, that's Reddit, yeah.
Yeah, like I've had hundreds of people say, the most violent, disgusting things. Not that I'm not doing the victim thing. Anyone who posts online, prepare for that to happen. That's what happens. We all know it here. We all post online. But anyway, yeah. So, but I feel like it helped me earn my stripes. I went through that because I think any content creator, there's as I'm sure you know yourself, you go through a journey of like your attitude towards criticism, and I think just absolutely getting smashed with it at the start was pretty good. But I was a 32-year-old man as well, and I have often thought, if I was a 22-year-old man or woman, I'd be like, this would destroy me to hear this stuff. So
how would you handle it at that age?
It does help to be over the age of 30 starting, I think, as well.
I'm glad you're on the light side now on IG. Like Reddit is just...
I still cop a lot on IG, but yeah, Reddit is just a special... it's like people feel encouraged to be rude on there. I don't know.
One day we need to do a ranking of like social media platforms, like from like innocent to like just debauchery and like what you find out.
That's a great
Well, obviously Twitter is the most purest form of social media, or X now, as it's now known. It's where you find the most diverse opinions. And,
you do.
Respectful discourse.
X really is a
you can
West.
say something. If someone disagrees with you, they will do so in a way that is honourable and
you
kind.
never feel offended. That's the beauty. On X. It's great.
But yeah, Reddit is it's interesting.
Yeah, but take it away, Poya.
Reddit. Take it away. Okay. First question. Why are you a fan of Andrew Tate?
Wait, are you actually a fan of Andrew Tate?
I would say no overall.
Why are you not?
I love that question.
Can I ask, is that a strong no? Or is that a...
I do genuinely believe that some of his ideas and lessons are coming from a good place, and I think he does find joy in helping others grow. I unfortunately also think the guy has sadly gone through so much in his past, and it's created who he is now, that a lot of it is negative. And look, it's one of those things where, why is it that all of his advice seems so objective and good and helpful, but if you look at all the young men who adopt it, women think they're pricks? Like there's something's getting lost in translation there.
What do you think it is that gets lost in translation?
I think, and like it's like, I think a lot of these guys use this excuse of, I was just joking when I said the misogynistic stuff, or anything that like would take you off the path or be negative for you. I was just joking when I said that. So their lawyers actually tell them to say that, these content creators. I don't think the guy at the core is an amazingly great guy. I don't know. I don't really know him well enough, to be honest, to speak on him. But I do think a lot of the impact he's had is bad. I think he has a lot of bad influence on people, and I don't think he has a great relationship with women. That's I will say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think that ties into the question I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask it a more kind of more avant-garde way. But honestly, the only way I can do it is just directly. Why does a red pill suck? And why is it so attractive as well? Or is it even attractive anymore?
Wait, can you explain red pill just really quickly?
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah. My understanding of red pill is it's a movement. It's like a masculinity movement and it uses the term red pill because in the Matrix you take either the red pill or a blue pill. Blue pill represents staying in the Matrix, staying in the simulation, and just being ignorant to what reality is.
Yes.
The red pill represents awakening to seeing the truth of what reality is and leaving the simulation. And seeing the world for how cooked they say it is or whatever. And so the whole idea behind red pill is you take the red pill, or when you follow this movement, you actually understand the dynamics of how men and women relate to each other. However, from my understanding of red pill, their view of women is women just care about money and status.
Hypergamy, essentially.
Hypergamy. Yeah, do you want to explain how? I don't think I can do it justice, but
You did a good job.
Yeah, no, that was a very great intro into it. As far as hypergamy, I think it's like kind of all the conventional and material things that would make someone valuable in the world. So kind of like you said, whether it's wealth, status, good looks, like stacking up all those areas. And, it might be less about your character and more about what you possess as far as like hypergamy, and like the fact that women will tend to want to date people who are higher than them in those areas, who have more wealth than them, who are of higher status, who are, a better provider, all those kind of things. So it's kind of those traditional, conventional, and maybe materialistic markers of success that kind of is what hypergamy is based on.
I have to say, and I don't know what you think about this, Matt, but when you hear Andrew Tate, and my perspective is I actually do like Andrew Tate, and I like a lot of the stuff that he does say. But I would say you're absolutely correct in saying the influence that he has, if you look at the effect of what's happening, usually the people who are emulating it, they haven't gotten results in their life. They're probably speaking from a place of hurt and pain, and he validates their pain and almost like gives them an excuse to be able to be rude to women. Yeah. So I see that side of things as well. But interestingly, like, he always talks about, women want this, and this is all they want, this is how they are. But you know what? When I actually think about that, I don't think that's the way women are in Australia. Like, for example, if you think about it, like, the way they see it is, if you're an attractive woman, you're only going to go with someone who's rich. That's not the way it is in Australia at all. In fact, a lot of the times you'll see, like, really attractive women with absolute bums, and they'll stay with absolute bums for a long time. So Andrew Tate's opinions and red pill opinions does not make sense there at all. Sure. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
And why that's the case as well?
From the Australia perspective?
Yeah.
Or, I think that I don't think looks are anywhere near as important as men think they are, like, generally speaking anyway. And I think this goes most places in the world. And I'm going to tackle this for like a little bit at a time, I think.
Thank you.
But the looks piece, though, if you like, we've had this conversation before. If you're at least like a 6 out of 10 dude, everyone in this room is well above that number.
Thank you.
Good man.
But
that's why as a man with
if you're above a
manners.
6, then and you've like got other stuff going on, you know, you're passionate about things and you're working hard and you take care of yourself, like you're ticking all those right boxes, then it is very rare that the reason a woman will no longer be attracted to you once she is attracted to you, or once something's going on with her because of your looks, or it's unlikely that looks will be the reason you wouldn't be able to pursue someone.
100%.
I believe that to be the case. And it's like, yeah, but why do the good-looking dudes always do better? Well, part of it, of course, is that we're all like, there's shallowness to human beings. Obviously, that's like, I won't pretend looks have nothing to do with it, but it is so much more about the confidence that good looks give you is the cause and effect thing. So really, what it comes down to is the confidence piece. That's my thoughts on that piece. And I've noticed this as well. Actually, when I like out in public, I've thought this dozens of times. There are so many attractive women in the world, and far more than there are men. I believe. Obviously, I've got some bias. I'm a straight man, but I can tell when a dude's good looking. I can see some good looking lads in the room right now. 2 in a row.
So you're saying there's more guys who like aren't that good looking compared to women who aren't that good looking?
I think there are more good-looking women out there than men. Yeah, generally speaking.
No, I get you. I wonder what you think of this, Matt. What the conclusion that I came to, when I felt like there was a period in my life where I broke through it's not about looks, and interestingly, that is when I got better with women.
Yeah, it's funny.
And have you found, I don't know if you, because you must have dealt with a lot of people like this, I wonder if you found a correlation between the guys who think it's about looks and say things like, it's because he's good looking. Interestingly, they suck with women. Have you found that? I'm just curious.
100%. I mean, like that is an indication of a victim mindset, or it's because of this. But I mean, I've learned it mostly from myself. When I was 21, I was like in the best shape ever, and I'd arguably say like I took care of myself better than ever, and I did pretty well with women. By 25, I was like almost 100 kilos, drugs, alcohol, eating like crap all the time. But I was better with women than ever because I had much more confidence in myself, and I didn't care as much, or I wasn't as shallow about needing to look good and whatnot. But like I've experienced that myself, and then I've paired them both now. Obviously, I've paired them.
Yeah, you're looking good, bro.
Amazing. Obviously, I'm joking. Obviously,
no, he showed me some shirtless photos the other day, and he's looking.
I didn't really mean that, but I did a bit. Obviously, I wouldn't have said it
I
otherwise.
took a peek when you were,
Oops! I quickly need to change my shirt. But yes, did I answer that question?
Definitely. Yeah. Josh, do you have any? I have so many questions to ask, but I'm going to let other people go as well. Josh.
No, you go first. It's all good.
Okay. Poya?
What was the one I initially asked? It was about red pill, right?
Yes, true.
I kind of want to. This is something I find interesting, right? So you have all these guys, your Tates, you're fresh and fit, other, red pillars, and they're always like, they're on about how you got to be like X, Y, Z to get women. You got to like, you can't cry in front of your girl. You got to have heaps of money. You got to be tall.
Yeah.
She'll leave you at the first sight of weakness. She only cares about your money, and you got to like hold them at an arm's length. Yet none of them are married or have kids, and they all claim to be religious. They're all like, oh, we have good like Christian values, or we're Muslim. Yet their behaviors reflect none of that. They're having like they're engaging in fornication on a regular basis, excessive drinking, gluttony, greed. Yet they play the religious card, and that pisses me off as a Christian, because I'm like, well, you're taking the Lord's name in vain. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But it's just the irony.
So true.
They don't live out. They don't even have the lifestyle they claim.
It's just a marketing tactic, right?
Yeah. But it's like, what do you think of that? Like the fact that people fall. Why do people fall for that? Why do young men who are disenfranchised see a guy like that and think that's how I'm going to get a wife? They look at a guy who's not married, doesn't have any kids. Yeah.
Well, I guess it suggests like how sad that if the greatest role model in your life is this cartoonish, hyper masculine figure on the internet, it's it's a sad reality for a lot of people. And I've noticed actually when I talk about Andrew Tate in a negative light to someone who likes him, like I put out a post on Andrew Tate before and people have like slammed me. it's not like I'm slamming their opinion or someone they look up to. Like I'm slamming their dad. Like that, he is their dad. Man. It's like how dare you talk about my father? That's what it feels like. And he's figured out how to create that figure in these lads' lives.
So in a sense, I guess he is a father. Then maybe he's living up to that.
Well, apparently he is. He has as many children.
Yeah, he's got like 12 kids or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good that he's having an active presence in there. We're gonna get reamed by him. No, it's all right. I loved having him on. If you're watching,
Interesting
come
that
on.
he wanted to become Muslim.
Let's not go there.
No, why not? That's
You
my
obviously learned from your brother's wedding, but that's okay. That's a story for later.
I don't think that's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you said as well before the speech.
Pussy.
Get off me. Hey, we're recording, right?
Yeah.
No, this will be on. It's okay. It's okay. What's said here does not stay here and goes out onto on Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts.
There it is. Use my discount code.
Yeah. What is your discount code?
Matt15.
Matt15.
It'll come up on the screen, my boys.
Yeah, put it up there, Sathi.
For what? For what? Anyway, please, let's continue.
Yeah, I guess you answered that. You're attacking.
Can I answer? Can I ask a question based on something that you said that I really wanted to know about?
Okay.
Which is the thing of I watched a clip of a guy just going like, honor your woman, love your women, do not. He was like, do not cry in front of your woman. Okay. Part of me got that. Part of me was like, okay, I understand that, but then I sometimes feel I feel conflicted because part of me is like, I get it, but then I also feel like it can be a problem.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I also feel like there have been moments where I've been vulnerable with my wife, and I haven't experienced her looking down at me and being like, oh, well, you're not a man anymore. Like, I haven't personally experienced that myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I do at times. So I'm a little bit mixed around it. What do you think about that? Because I think that's very important.
I'm gonna answer this.
Yeah, sure. So I've thought about this for hundreds of hours, and I find it so interesting because so many men are like truly believe never ever, as you just said, like don't ever show weakness in front of your wife.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I'll start by saying, and like I complain to Amy every single day of my life. I'm going to never stop doing that. And like she knows all of my weaknesses, all my vulnerabilities. But I think one of the key differences, I mean, one of them has to be that some women, if they've had trauma in their past, not to get too psychological with it, or pop psychological, some women who've had trauma see it as a sign of weakness when a man shows weakness and they can't tolerate it. Look, that probably applies to a small percentage of the population. I think more so that I think a lot of men don't know how to balance vulnerability with resilience. And so it's like, it's okay to fall off the horse and be pissed off that you're off the horse and be like, fuck.
Yeah, you can swear, it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
And be like, fuck horse riding. Like, I'm so fucking done with horse riding. Amy's heard me talk like that in the last week. But the next morning, though, I'm back out there in the stable with the horse. Yeah. And like, I think that's the difference is like, if you're going to sit around for weeks complaining about something in lieu of doing something about it, I actually said this to Amy as well because it so annoys me how men think like you can never show. I said that like so women will eventually turn their backs on you if you show any. So I'm like, look, Amy, if I decided tomorrow, you know what, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to take some time out and figure things out. If I did that for a week or so, Amy would be fine with it. If I started doing it for if the bills started piling up and then I've got her working and then I'm not helping out around the house, if after a couple of years she didn't leave me, she's an idiot. Like, it's like, so there's like that whole, what about the unconditional love? There shouldn't be such a thing. That's doing you more of a disservice to allow you to be like that. So yes, I think you should absolutely share vulnerability. Do it in a safe way. Don't overshare at the start. You've got to like have a connection with someone first. Maybe prompt them a little bit with some gentler stuff and see how they react first before you drop the bomb. But otherwise,
now
get back
I
on the
understand
horse.
why you mentioned trauma in the beginning for women, because that plays a role. Because if she's hypermasculine, right?
Something I've noticed in a few.
I really wanted to kind of follow up in one of the things you just pointed out, which was about like, if the bills started piling up, if things start to go wrong and she didn't leave you, then there's something wrong with her.
Yes.
And I think we know there's no unconditional love, or at least some people feel like there's no unconditional love for men, but women and dogs get unconditional love.
Sure.
And with like today's day and age and the whole social landscape of equality and, you know, men and women's rights and becoming more equal, I think that there is an area of a part of men start to feel resentful about the idea of, if we're asking for equality out in the world and in the workplace and all these things, why is it that in our social and our romantic relationships, there's still a kind of a rigidity of women asking a lot from men and not being willing to tolerate what they ask men to tolerate from them.
Fair.
And just as an example, like, it's still known that women initiate the majority of divorces. Most of the time it's because of financial issues. So these are one of those things of like, okay, we're asking for equality. I'm not saying this is how I'm feeling.
Sure.
I'm just putting myself in
No,
front of
but it's an important point to raise.
Yeah, but I think you see where I'm going with this.
Definitely.
What are your thoughts towards that area of it all, of like equality versus, but you're also saying, you know, if things are going wrong, she should leave me.
Yeah, sure. So on the equality piece itself, like, I mean, and do you mind if I just stick to Amy and I and not necessarily say this is what should be perfectly representative of all mankind?
Yeah.
So like Amy and I, in some ways, have the traditional masculine, feminine roles whereby she does more with the children, I bring in more money, like I work more hours and whatnot. But then there's certain things that aren't traditional as well. Like I think it's very much about finding someone you connect with. But beyond all that, like when you're with the right person, is figuring out your strengths and weaknesses and like finding a balance there. But in terms of like the equality piece for the... equality piece for like what I was discussing before around like a man, if he's not putting anything in for a long time, like are you saying that it's unfair for her?
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a deep one, because it's kind of like, what would be expected of a man who was in the reverse situation if his woman wasn't doing so well, or if she wasn't working and the bills were stacking up? Generally speaking, guys kind of have the mindset of, well, you get, like, as a guy, I need to get it together then. I need to support her. I need to provide for her. I need to be the protector, right?
That's true.
But vice versa, it's kind of like, oh, we'll leave him, find a better man, right? So that's where it's the idea of, okay, I think resentment can build up off the equality becoming a bigger discussion in today's day and age, when we're still seeing inequality when it comes to our romantic relationships. So I see that just creating a lot of frustration, and I guess I was curious to see whether you think that frustration is fair, that's valid, or whether you think that we need to just accept that.
Yeah, it's such a great question to ask, because it's something that needs to be considered. I would say, like with Amy and I, the strengths and weaknesses thing, but I would say that there are certain parts of a male-female dynamic whereby like men want to protect women more. And I'm just thinking, like, as you were saying that, I thought, okay, in that situation, if Amy started, let's say, being sad and wanted to take time out and this prolonged for a while, would I eventually go, well, screw this, I've got to leave? Not even to say she'd do it to me, but I'm just trying to put myself in this situation. I think it is different, yeah. And like, is that fair? I don't necessarily know, but I would feel like it was my responsibility to get her out of that.
Well, I respect your answer. Here's what I've noticed, because I think you also kind of touched on this. There's kind of a hybrid model in today's day and age when it comes to male and female dynamics. Like, say, 50, 100 years ago, it was very traditional, like kind of like male provide, protect, go to work, women be the caregivers, child rearers, stay at home, be the homemaker. And then nowadays, we are going towards a more equal model. But I find that most people kind of want a hybrid model where we kind of take a bit of the traditional
True.
and then we take a bit of the equality. And like maybe in the romantic sense, we kind of want a bit more traditional. But when it comes to like the workplace, we're a bit more of the equality model. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
Yeah, I would say, like, I mean, it's certainly the case, and Amy and I have the hybrid model going on. And I think for most couples, like couples who are happy together, they need to figure out which parts of that hybrid
I want some, because obviously you as like the dating coach expert here,
Yeah.
I want to get your, and you might need to step out on a bit of a limb right now, but like,
Sure.
what do you think is actually the best model in today's day and age? Like, disclaimer, I know that sometimes different things work for different people, so fair enough. But generally speaking, like, which model do you think actually would work best in today's day and age? Do you feel like people should just go down the traditional route and go back old school? Should we go 50-50? We both split the bill and yada, yada, yada? Or is the hybrid model actually the best approach in today's day and age?
I think
Good question.
The hybrid approach, best is hard because I think it's financially necessary. Like it's so hard to get by with just one person contributing income.
Madness.
But I would say, like, is it the best? Like at what stage in the last 100 years, there's probably a good amount of time to capture. At what stage were couples happiest is probably, and then how do you measure that, right? Maybe, lower divorce rates, but then you got to look at, but it was more controversial to get divorced back in the day. Like,
if you left, what would be the consequences of leaving versus now maybe there's more safety nets for leaving as well?
Definitely. What I would confidently say is like I am the leader in our household, and of course a leader is about being approachable and ensuring everyone has their say and we all find a mutual way to move forward. I'm not the boss of anyone, but I would say, a lot of the boxes I tick in our relationship are the classic male-female dynamic, and I would guess for the most part that the vast majority of people would benefit from this dynamic more than any other. But
I'm sure you just angered 20% of people out there as well by saying that.
Yeah.
I don't like, Matt, what do you think about this? Because recently, like, I'll meet people and I'll talk to them and I'll notice that, like, I've met people that are like, no, I like to be a subservient, like, girl, and I want to do this, and this is what works for me, and I want to, and I've seen couples who, they're just like that, and they accept that tradition, and that works for them.
Yep.
And then, obviously, like, for me, I think it's a little bit more of a hybrid thing as well.
Yep.
But wouldn't you say it really depends on them? Like, it depends on, like, what works for them? But then I get what you mean as well, because it's hard. You're right, because back then, it was like, it was harder to get divorced, more shame. Yeah, I don't know.
If a female left her man back in the day,
They can't. There is no divorce back then.
Now
it's just like every second person gets divorced.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the.
It's funny. When I'm thinking about like my friend groups, I think most people do have a bit of a hybrid model. I would say, I think people still hold on a bit to that traditional model, and they want to adopt some equality now as far as like how we treat each other.
Yeah.
But I do have a friend who I met who has a very new school approach, and he was saying like everything's 50-50, and if we go out, we split the bill 50-50, and like they've been in a relationship for a long time, and like I think they do quite well. Like they seem to be quite happy. But when I heard it, I was actually shocked.
Yeah.
I didn't show it on my face. I had a good poker face, but I was shocked inside because I thought,
sorry guys,
people are really going into this new style. Like they're saying, you know what? I want to just make sure, even as a man, I want to make sure that my spouse is contributing 50% to the household, which they take a bit of the traditional model and take a bit of the equality model and kind of marry the two and use it in a way that works for both of them. But I do have a friend who told me that he like just adopts a full equality model where it's just 50-50 all the way through. And it was just shocking to me because I think as a guy, you could call it nurture, you can call it just conditioning, but I just believe I want to be the one to give and to provide and to I just want to be filling that role. So it's just the idea of going 50-50 and to actually say, no, we're both completely the same person or we have the same role, we're doing everything half just seems so foreign to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it is hard in that respect, and it is inherently part of our nature, right? That protection piece. And so, when it's now, you're now contributing just as, how am I going to still feel that same masculine presence in the relationship, or whatever else it comes down to? Part of that, though, because I will just briefly explain, it's the case now where I out-earn my wife, but I mean, she's not working with kids at the moment. We've had times in our relationship where, she's earned more than me or I've earned more than her. When I started my business, she was supporting us for 12 months as well, part of that while pregnant. So I guess I just would feel guilty not to say that as I'm talking about the equality piece. But I do prefer it where I'm the main contributor financially. Maybe it's ego thing. I'm happy to say it if it is. But I also I get so much joy out of giving and knowing I'm taking care of people.
Do you think we'll breed that out of ourselves? By that I mean like
interesting. Yeah.
You know, right now, 2024, it's like okay, we're still kind of halfway. But maybe in the next 50 years, like it really is 50-50 and guys really don't care about being the provider anymore and women really do want to step up and say, I don't need someone who is financially doing better than me or whatever. Like I want to make sure that I'm giving as much as he's giving. Like, do you think that is what the future turns into possibly?
Perhaps as a learned behavior, but yeah, because it takes thousands of years to adopt new like inherent subconscious reactions to things. I don't know if it like I don't know. It would take a long time.
I think it'll swing as well. I think it'll swing, and recently I found the swings have gotten even quicker. Like 100 years ago, it was a very patriarchal society, you know, and then like in the last 100 years, and then it went to the last 15 years extreme kind of feminism, and then it swung back with Andrew Tate. So it's swinging, and it's swinging even quicker, which. That's my theory. Is it's actually becoming the end of the world when it swings quick, but that's a whole different story. I had this thought, Matt, and tell me if there's anything to it. The women who prefer more of an equal. No, I want to pay equal. They're more avoidant types, and the people who are like, no, shower me. Like, okay, I'll be subservient. They're more anxious types. Is there something to that, or is that absolutely dumb?
Where's the secure type?
I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that question. I don't know where that goes, but I'm curious as to anxious avoidant first.
But boys, these questions are awesome, by the way. That is it more anxious to like be more subservient or to be equal? I would say I'm sure there has to be a correlation there. I would also say though that it can swing the other way, whereby it's like if you're avoidant, do you want them sharing you with stuff? Obviously not. But you, no, yes. I'm going to say yes. I bet there is. I bet there is a strong correlation. Good thought. Good thought. Yeah.
But aren't there
Interesting. Yeah, go for it.
aren't there like avoidant women who would just like monkey branch, where it's like there's a term called monkey branching, where it's like you jump from one partner while you're in one relationship and you kind of jump into another one. While you're already in one, it's kind of like you immediately end that for another one. And I wonder, I don't know, I feel like there's situations where there's women who are avoidant that because they're avoidant, they kind of value the more material sort of things like money and status. So they're with a guy.
I see that as
and
well.
it's like he's only as good as his bank, his bank account is. And then someone else comes along, they'll just ditch him for that. But they're kind of avoidant, they kind of have this like, oh, like I know, like they kind of, how do I describe it? You know the type who they took, like they kind of like try to look like Kim Kardashian, I guess, or whatever. Like like that type, and they're kind of very
literally tens of millions.
Like the one, like you go to the clubs in the city, and they're always like
big
lips and all that, which is fine if you want to do that, no judgment. But yeah, I find like the women I met like that, they make me laugh. They're pretty funny. Yeah. No offense if you like that, but you're also a good comedic value. And I hope you find healing. It's the reason
Poya, yes.
But okay, it's true. Be offended. Yeah. But yeah, I find there's like this wall. There's like no emotional thing, and it's just like they're just like I just want a guy who has like a nice car and will buy me nice things, but there's no actual connection. I feel like anxious attachment people they really want connection. And like don't go, like they'll cling on.
Yeah.
While avoidance will just be like, oh, okay, I'm out. And I feel like there's a lot of avoidant women who would like be almost like I guess in a sense like more submissive, as long as it got them what they wanted, and as soon as they weren't getting so they'll just bounce.
True. Yeah.
How it plays out can be very interesting.
Yeah, that like makes things more complex when you put it like that. Yeah.
I do think attachment styles plays a part, but
It must
I
do.
don't
Yeah,
think
there
it's the
must be
whole
a
thing.
connection there, but there's so much nuance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like you can find every example of how it plays out for every attachment style as
So
well.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'm
for
not avoiding women who make bank that go for guys who are like nowhere near, like who, like you wouldn't like if you're thinking red pill terms, they wouldn't go for them,
Yeah.
which obviously adds that extra.
They'll
another
usually
layer.
go for like feminine men.
Yeah,
It allows them
definitely.
to be what they want to do.
Yeah, so you got like
Yeah.
really masculine avoidant women, but you also have almost in a weird way feminine, maybe
Yeah.
avoidant women.
And then I feel like
Or
you
like-
also get women that can go both. They
Yeah.
will react to different situations with different like archetypes. You know.
But you get that with men as well, right? Like you,
You
get
do,
the
you
avoidant
do.
men who are very feminine and like very like don't take charge, kind of just like go with the flow. But then you get the
Definitely.
avoidant men, who would just like put up walls and just like go, don't you do what I tell you to do? Oh.
So true.
Yeah,
And
Yes.
then you get
Yeah.
you get anxious like men who I guess could in a sense be masculine in some ways. And
Yeah.
So
in some
I don't know. I
ways.
feel like there has to be some kind of other element. Well, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I've never considered this before, so it's all going through my head at hyperspeed. I think, as Joshua said, I think for all of the attachment styles, you could, there's examples for, whether they're more feminine or masculine as people. But I would still, I mean, not but, because it doesn't disagree with it, but yeah, I'm sure there's also a correlation between, there has to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a good think about this.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Till next time,
Till next time.
when you're back. I have a
Yeah. No. Go.
I have a question I want to ask you, and I want to just I'm just going to throw it out there. There's all this talk of masculinity. People are like, oh, that's a masculine man, or this is a masculine man. We have
Yes.
and there's a lot of I hear a lot of we've talked about this, Matt, and
Yeah.
when we've had our chats, and where we've chatted, where there's this idea that there's no real men anymore. Back in the day, there was real men.
They're gone.
They're gone, which I actually don't agree with.
I
don't
agree.
agree
I
with
agree
that.
that I disagree with it
I
as
think
well,
it's
yeah.
just different in different ways.
Yes.
What I want to ask you is, what makes a man a man? What is a masculine man? What are the qualities? What are some examples in pop culture?
Mm-hmm.
What makes a man masculine?
I think,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
If you,
Yes. let's go there.
I think if you look at some of the not stereotypical, but yes, some of the traits as I see them are like the want to provide and protect and help, and I guess you could call it nurturing others, but certainly in a way that's different to femininity. I think there's a stoicism involved with it. I think there's like being patient and virtuous and wise.
Is it territorial?
Yes, I would say so to some degree, and whether and I guess by territorial, like standing up for what you believe in, protecting what's yours.
Yeah.
But I mean, like being controlling and feeling like you own someone, I feel is different to territorial then, or not necessarily the same thing. I'd like to clear that up. What do you reckon of that?
Oh, about whether a masculine man is territorial.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What I would first say is, I think it's important to note that masculine was an adjective that you used, Poya, before the word man. So being a masculine man, to me, doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best version of a man. I think the best version of a man will have masculinity and it will have femininity within it, and it'll know when to be using which energy to go throughout life.
True.
So when by me now saying what I think a masculine man is, let me just note that I'm not saying that this is the superior man. This is just what I see as a masculine man. I'm going to go with all the stereotypical masculine traits. And I might be missing something. I might be saying one that might not truly be aligned with what masculinity is, but I would lean towards being more assertive, aggressive, competitive, pride, dominating, and all those things sound they sound controversial at face value, but that's why I do believe motive is very important. And I'll give you an example. One of my friends who I think has a lot of traits of a masculine man, like he's very stereotypical in that way. I was having a D&M with him the other day, just chatting in the car, and he was saying how like, Josh, when I see you around our friend group, you probably don't realize this, but like, I'm actually like very protective of you. Like I look out to see if like people around you are trying to mess with you, because that's how my mind's wired, right? If you just heard someone say like aggressive or assertive or territorial, maybe you think that, oh, like they're doing it in like a negative way, like, oh, he's mine, he's all mine, and no one else can have him. But the way he broke it down to me was like, no, I'm trying to look out to make sure the energy around you is actually positive energy and people aren't trying to take advantage of you. So I think when I look at the masculine traits, and I do see it in those stereotypical ways, but I do believe the motive you have behind it is as important as what the trait is as well. I think you can use any of those traits in a positive way or in a negative way. So yeah,
that's a great point, and I completely agree with that. And that actually makes me realize I should have I was talking more about what I think is healthy masculinity, which I think is the balance, and that's so true. It's the adjective of like what is masculinity itself. It is that dominating, aggressive, strength, protection, territorialism, and all the rest of it. Healthy masculinity is finding a way, I think even maybe to introduce a bit of the femininity into it as well. I think healthy masculinity requires femininity, or for a man to have what I consider a healthy level of masculinity. And the definition of that is that he's a productive member of society, has good relationships for the most part with the people around him, and he makes people's lives better, I guess. Yeah.
What is some of the... I love that, by the way, and I love what you said as well, Josh, and I think I agree. In terms of the feminine characteristics, what would you say are the feminine characteristics that a healthy masculinity would include?
Yeah, I think like stuff like complaining and sitting down to pee, obviously. No, I love sitting down to pee and complaining.
Me too, man.
Actually,
if we don't put down the... we edit that out.
What?
It's too late, bro. We caught you, bro.
No, it's great.
Yeah, we'll keep it in.
It's so convenient. Only at home, obviously.
Sathi's so dumb, bro. He's checked out. He's like, oh. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I take that back. I don't want this edited out. I want everyone to know.
Oh, they'll know.
I want everyone to know. Where else am I going to read my Kindle? Where else am I going to read it?
So what elements are feminine? It's like maybe these are even gentler examples of masculinity. So I don't even know if I'm going to be answering you correctly, but I'm going to say the thoughts as they've come to me. I would say stuff like patience and like more of that active listening, compassion piece, applying empathy. I think wanting to be nurturing but again, that sort of falls into the masculinity piece. So what were you going to say?
Keep cooking. I've got
no, I was. That was it.
Is it? I guess it's what you were saying. Is it almost like a more gentler version of certain masculine traits? Well, I guess it's intentions. You were saying, so. Josh, right?
Yeah.
Like wanting to. What was it before? Make people.
Being compassionate and applying empathy, and genuinely engaging people. And a classic example of that is men love providing solutions, and women, they just want you to listen. Stop telling them like how to fix it, and just listen. Like I think that's an example of one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
If I'm gonna go like very natural with it, as like just like what I'm seeing out of nature, like what's the thing you see amongst like 99% of male species versus 99% of female species? Generally, the male's giving, sowing a seed, and the female species is receiving, and then it's multiplying. So I think and obviously both is needed for reproduction. I think in my life, there are definitely moments where I'm tapping into masculine energy, moments where I'm tapping into feminine energy. There's moments where I'm leading, there's moments where I'm following. And I think being too rigid or refusing to know when you need to be in maybe channeling what energy, I think can be a very big pitfall, But I'll give one example. I won't go too into detail, but I have a friend. If this friend's watching, he knows who he is. I visited his house, and he has a like rumpus room / study, office study. Mm-hmm. And the office study was kind of, it was office study. It was basic. It was functional. Like, how men are. I was like, okay, does it get the job done? Does it get from A to B? Okay, it could do it. Mm-hmm. His wife comes to him and says, baby, I want to renovate your study. He says, all right, it's all yours. Go ahead. Do what you want to do. Comes back when the renovations are done. Place looks magical. It has like a Japanese kind of feng shui vibe. It was like, it has a sliding doors and it has all these, the color schemes it looks completely different from the rest of the house, right?
Right.
And in that moment, to me, that stereotypical saying of, you know, you give a woman a house, she'll make it a home. That's where I was like, oh, I've never seen it more picture perfect than that moment.
Yeah, so true.
And to me, that's also feminine energy. You
It
know,
is.
the
It
idea
is.
of
It really
receiving
is.
something and saying, no, there's more in there. There's more power in this than you're giving it credit for, and I can make more out of it. So, like, when I see females who are trying to so much to be like a man or be so masculine, I'm like, you don't even realize what power you have in your feminine that you should really just be tapping
Ain't
into.
that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
So true.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something I've often thought about, the old like men versus women thing. Like, there's such a debate online around who has it harder is what it almost comes down to.
exactly.
And my big thing is like, life is bloody hard for everyone, man. Like, and of course some people have it harder than others and all the rest of it. But like, I don't think men or women I don't know who has it harder. And to be honest, I think that if you wouldn't want to be the other gender, like if you're happy with the gender you already are, then what is the sense in considering what they have that you don't? You wouldn't want to be them anyway. I would never want to be a woman. So for that reason, I'm not going to sit around and dwell on all the reasons why being a woman would be more advantageous to me.
Yeah. So I know people are listening to this podcast and they have a lot of questions, and I want to make this now practical. I want to shift over to the practical side. So let's just start off with Matt. What are the typical reasons that people actually come to you for coaching?
So yeah, I mean, it's dating related stuff, whether they're some sort of challenge in their dating life, whether it's a self-confidence issue, overcoming an ex, not feeling confident enough to approach women in public, having problems with rejection, or dealing with some stuff as well that where if they're not neurotypical, stuff like ADHD or certain types of autism. So yeah, it depending on their challenge. They're some of the main challenges people have when they come to me.
Got you. And what would you say for like a single guy in his 20s, in his 30s, and he's kind of on the apps and he's not getting any results, and he's kind of frustrated because he looks at everyone around him and he thinks, man, like everyone's got a girlfriend but me. Mm-hmm. What would you say to him? Like, what advice would you give him?
First of all, I'd say, like, let's say a groupie of 10 mates have girlfriends, at least half of them are unhappy anyway, so who cares? Like, no. I mean, the comparison thing, like, there is some truth in that, sitting around comparing isn't going to do you well, because you don't know the full story for most of these people anyway. So and it's the old thing where if you think something is the case, the confirmation bias, you'll feel like everyone around you has a girl. Yeah. Anyway, I know that was a small part of it, but practical stuff you should focus on. Get the hell off the apps first of all, because
interesting.
We are
You're anti-apps.
Oh, absolutely.
Please explain that.
What I would say though is that apps like AI, like a bunch of new things that have been introduced into dating, is one of those things where if you already know how to approach women and you're already pretty fulfilled in your dating life, or you have enough confidence in yourself, they're okay as a supplementary thing. But if you're relying on your self-confidence through a billion-dollar tech company that is specifically out there to that has a vested interest in keeping you single, that's mental. And like I see so many clients who say, "Man, I think I'm finally ready to spread my wings and get more serious about dating. I'm going to sign up for 5 more apps." It's like, dude, you're in the same pools every time, and it really is a case where so a quick one on the apps. 10 years ago, if you went on there, that was during like their initiation phase where they're like, we need to make meeting people on the internet for sexual reasons, for dating reasons, and a cool thing. So we'll make it free. We'll give all the men a great experience because they'll tell all their mates to get on it, and it'll be this amazing thing. We're now at the point where it's like they're so far into knowing exactly how everyone operates, like that they know exactly how to make money out of you, and they do it by manipulating your self-confidence. So unless you're already happy with your dating life, and if you're looking for a girlfriend, you're not necessarily happy. Unless you're happy enough in yourself, don't bother with the apps.
So are you saying that the dating apps and these dating app companies don't want you to actually find a partner?
I would say, I don't know that they're specifically trying to say, how can we keep everyone single? But given that there is a vested interest, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in keeping people single and constantly ensuring they have that comparison culture. And so I have spoken to execs who've worked at some of these dating companies. Some of the shit that they do is pretty awful. And look, I can't say for sure they're doing it and whatever. I can't name the companies, but stuff like if there's people who are spend a lot of money on the apps but aren't getting any matches, their employees will start chatting them up and keeping their hope up. They'll do stuff like if they can tell you've been inactive for a while because you've likely connected with the person on the app, they'll throw your profile out to a bunch of random people and try and get you back on there by saying, hey, look at these matches we found for you. Even though they know you've probably been dating someone for a few... some of the stuff they do is pretty shocking.
That
is so wild.
That's crazy.
Imagine someone working there saying, oh yeah, Billy Bob needs some attention. Let me get on there, start chatting him up. Like, you're basically catfishing.
Yeah.
But now AI can do that so well now.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure AI...
They know exactly what words to say, what phrase, what keywords that really gets the people going.
Oh my God.
Well, they're at the point now where they can't figure out, if it's AI when they're doing the text prompts.
That freaks me out.
So, let's continue on with Kevin's question though, right? So he's saying, don't compare, get off the apps. What else are you telling them?
True. Staying off the apps, I would say getting in shape, making sure, dressing well, grooming well, all of those little shallow things. I think you should do them beyond the fact that they make you more attractive. They make you feel better about yourself. It starts to become some guys try to, I'm going to fix everything about myself and then be more attractive. I'm like, just take on one thing every couple of weeks and it eventually becomes this snowball thing. But I think some of the easier stuff like dressing well and grooming and stuff can be done pretty quickly. Other than that though, I would say I would say one of the biggest things you should be doing opportunity-wise is going out and socializing and saying yes to more things and being known as someone who's willing to go to barbecues with colleagues. And people will say don't date people from work, but it's not necessarily even that. It's just building a network and meeting friends of friends and whatnot. I think a lot of men have far more network than they realize with the even limited people they know. If they start spreading out a bit. You don't want to be known as the guy who's desperately going out trying to meet everyone, you've got to be saying yes more and getting out there.
Matt, can I ask you, because I get this question a lot from a lot of female clients. I've done a lot of guest coaching in some dating coaching programs.
Cool.
And a lot of the females will come to me and say, where do you meet a guy? And to me, the question is always funny because my mind's always saying anywhere. Guys are everywhere. You can meet a guy in the grocery store, you can meet him at church, you can meet him at the workplace, you can meet him in a hospital, you can meet a guy anywhere. But there is still the idea of feeling like, where can I find someone? Whether you deal with mostly females or with males, I'm curious, do you have your own philosophy on where's the best place to meet someone that you're looking to, start something up with?
Yeah, I would say, some of the places that I'll name are the hit list of never meet someone in these places. The gym can be good, work can be good. There's such a I'd never do that. What if it doesn't work out, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing it, if you're meeting women at work to sleep with them and lie to them and manipulate them, then you're an idiot. But if you're doing it from a good place and you're not going to freak out if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. But the point I'm making though is, I think a lot of the places that you already frequent are probably going to be good, stuff your social activities and going out and about and gym and
the run club.
The running club, they're all doing it at the running clubs now.
The run club become the place now. Is it really that effective, or is it just all marketing and really it's just still the same?
It's good.
I would say I don't think there's some secret places to meet them, but it's more about having more of a being more open and approachable in your day to day, and saying yes to more things and allowing that network to grow organically. If that's
I've always felt for myself. I think we're gonna have to start to wrap up soon. But I agree with what you said. I always felt for myself that whatever things I value, whatever hobbies I have, I would love to be able to meet people from those areas because I feel like we would already have those shared interests.
True.
Right. And all my friendships, all my previous relationships, anyone who I'm very close with, we have shared interests. That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
We have shared values, we have shared interests, and maybe our personalities also click. would you also agree that like trying to primarily look at places where you already are, such as your hobbies or things you're interested in, like, whether it's sports or whatever, like do you feel like that's the best place to actually build up a relationship because you have those shared interests with them?
I think in some of these places, like they're more conducive to the best parts of your personality because you're enjoying yourself and whatnot. So I think they're helpful in that respect. But interestingly enough, like, so it's two things you said there, which I have to separate is hobbies and interests versus values. If you're doing it based on aligned values, I think there is no better way to meet someone than somehow aligning your meeting spots. Whereas the hobbies and interests thing, I used to think that was the most important, but looking at statistics like of the 25 reasons couples stay together, hobbies and interests is like the last one on the list. Really? Shared hobbies and interests, but shared values, which I think was more pressing for you anyway, is like it was the number one. Point. Was the number one.
That's a very good distinguishing factor.
Interesting.
Hobbies and interests versus actual values.
Yes. So very interesting.
Okay, beautiful. I'm gonna finish off with asking. I'm gonna get Josh to ask some shadow questions, which are some questions that we are now gonna start to ask our guests to get them to open up a little bit and to see where the conversation goes. So, Josh, take it away.
Now, Matt, we did just meet, but hopefully this won't destroy our friendship because I think you're a great guy, and I think this might be the start of something beautiful and long term. There's 3 cards here. This is from Shadow Play, which is a game we played on the podcast last week, where we have to ask questions that really test your bravery and your courage to say things that maybe you usually wouldn't want to say.
Sure.
Kind of disclosing parts about yourself that maybe you would prefer to hide from the rest of the world. And there's 2 piles. One pile is the regular questions, and then one pile is like the crazy, really don't pick these up questions. I've got 3 of those crazy, really don't pick this up questions. And I'm going to give it basically a chance of who you're going to pick, which one you're going to pick. You have 3 options. You choose the one that you want to answer.
Cool. Let's go this one.
All right, boom.
What global crisis do you have the most or least compassion for?
You're not going to be welcome in some countries after this.
In Iran. No, I'm joking.
That's my country.
He didn't know that. He didn't know that.
He knew that.
What global crisis do you have the most or least compassion for? Let's see. I don't know much about what's going on with the news, but COVID's over, so I'll say COVID. I don't know. It's just, these are pretty dangerous questions.
That's
why it's called the ruthless card.
Yeah, we get the ruthless card.
COVID answer was pathetic. I feel like I should actually say something here. Can someone name some global crises and I'll choose one?
Let's do another question. I think this is a crap one.
No, that's a good one. That's a question that's going to get me in trouble at work.
Okay, this is the final one. Here you go.
Thank you. Name a time when you were the real life villain in someone else's story and you actually were the villain, you evil fuck. I've got countless stories about between the ages of 20 to 23 where most of the advice I share about not being a dickhead with women was based on my own experiences. Was I an evil fuck? Probably not, but there are at least 8 women out there who would say that guy's a real dickhead. I'd feel safe. I'd feel safe.
And the camera's right there. What do you want to say to those? No, I'm playing.
I couldn't help but smile afterwards. I am, of course, I feel very guilty about my past behaviour. But yes, I'd say that there would be some women out there who would see me as the villain of the story.
Matt, we appreciate you taking these questions head on. We're trying to figure out when you're the villain in one story. It turns out you're the villain in 8. So we're gonna let you off the hook here, and we appreciate you coming through and spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. This was the most fun I've ever had on a podcast.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
What's up, man?
Just really quickly, just a plug for Matt. Where do we find you?
Yes, look up Men with Manners, and you'll see the little blue logo with my face on it. Click it, follow me, let's talk. Let's have a chat.
Beautiful. Bridges of Belief. Have a good time, and we'll see you next week.